Good morning. It's the 11th of November, 2020. It's rainy. It's Veterans Day, and I remember my dad and all the other veterans who gave their lives in World War II to fight fascism. And today, fascism is at the doorstep of the United States. I cringed last night when I heard Fareed Zakaria on CNN News talk about we're becoming like a banana republic. I smiled, even while I cringed. Because what were the banana republics? These countries of the Americas ruled like fiefdoms of U.S. banana companies like Del Monte and Chiquita, United Fruit Company. In Colombia, Nicaragua, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Honduras. In Guatemala, Jacobo Arbenz, a colonel in the army who sought to do land reform against the interests they perceived of the banana companies, was overthrown by the CIA. In fact, it is said that Che Guevara, the great Argentine revolutionary and justice seeker, sought refuge in the embassy of Mexico when the coup took place against Jacobo Arbenz, led by Wild Bill Donovan, the CIA and his local Quislings, traitors to their country, who later buried that country in the blood and gore of tens of thousands of indigenous people and other justice seekers who sought to make their country a free republic, untrammeled by the claws of the United Fruit Company and those latifundis who controlled that country's economy to the disservice of the poor. Yes. Somewhere I read that Martin Luther King and many others were saddened by the assassination of the great President John F. Kennedy, who was killed on November 22nd, 1963. But in a bolt of illuminatory historical thinking, Malcolm X, the son of a Universal Negro Improvement Association advocate, and his Grenadian-born wife, Malcolm X, his mother was Grenadian-born, said, and I quote, with regard to the killing of Kennedy, the chickens are coming home to roost. What Malcolm X meant by that was nothing evil, nothing foul, but a sober realization that just a year before, months before, the leader of South Vietnam was killed in a US-sponsored coup d'etat in Ngo Dinh Diem. And that led, of course, to the U.S. intervention in Vietnam on a greater scale and the ruinous Vietnam War. But that did not stop the nature of imperialism in its depredations and its invasions and its usurpation of power from the democratic masses in other countries like Chile, for instance, where Salvador Allende was overthrown in 1973 in a coup d'etat sponsored by the CIA of the United States. Nor did it stop the attack on Jamaica under Michael Manley, when that country placed a levy on bauxite of 1 penny on the dollar to put that money, that 1 penny on the dollar of Jamaica's bauxite, into social programs and education. Henry Kissinger, the notorious Secretary of State, whose name will live in infamy by those who love justice and democracy, was quoted to have said, "We will make that economy, that is Jamaica's economy, scream." And the CIA, with its local allies in the Jamaica Labour Party, engaged in a full-blown onslaught on Jamaica, in which maybe 1,000 and more Jamaicans died in gun battles with gun squads armed by the CIA of the United States. And they spread all kinds of calumny about Jamaica that caused the collapse of that country's tourism industry. Not to say Michael Manley may not have made mistakes. Perfection does not reign on earth, only in heaven. But the reality is, those countries like Guatemala, like Chile, like Honduras, like Nicaragua, like Haiti, that were ruined by these interventions, did not have the opportunity to make their mistakes. Did not have the opportunity to have democracy speak through the ballot box. Their leaders, Salvador Allende, Jacobo Arbenz, overthrown, some of them killed. Somewhere I read that what goes around comes around. It's the karmic force in nature. Because somewhere it is said in the Bible, I believe, that which you do unto the least of my brothers, you do unto me. And so all these years of coup making and coup plotting and overthrowing governments by the United States government and its agencies like the CIA, maybe, just maybe, that rot, that cancer has come home. And so those who are racist, those who are white supremacist, those who are Nazi and fascist in their thinking, who want to turn the United States into what they consider the glorious ethno-state for whites only, have found common cause with Donald Trump, and they've created this craven alliance of white supremacists, the ignorant, the conspiracy theorist, the deluded, the supporters of the old slave power, the Confederacy, and all those who hate human freedom and who are solidified in ignorance and racial hatred and class prejudice and oligarchic thinking, have now arrayed themselves in a broad alliance. Not enough to have gotten the majority of the vote. At this time, the 11th of November, Veterans Day 2020, Trump and his alliance are at 71 million, a huge number. But in that number, have they ever reckoned with the victory of the Union Army in the Civil War? Have they ever accepted that black people and indigenous people and Hispanic people should have equal rights as white people? Have they ever accepted that civil rights meant that women and the disabled and the less fortunate should have an equal say in the halls of power? Or are they enmeshed in the thinking of a monarchy and a nation only fit for kings, not a free republic? It is not by accident that when you look at portraits of Donald Trump's home, it's adorned with all the filigree of monarchy and gold and splendor, and almost like the overthrown kings of France at Versailles. It has this sort of glossy sheen of riches, and we now know that a lot of those riches were obtained through vile scheming and not filing of taxes and bankruptcies and all the sort of bottom feeder real estate deals, slumlordism. He ripped the wealth of this country for himself and those allied with him, and he brought that thinking into the US government and now seeks to ensure he remains in power. But beyond Trump is the philosophy of Trump and Trumpism, which really is rooted in deep-seated prejudices that predate Trump, that go back to the founding of this country in slavery, that go back to the values of those who fought against slavery and the abolitionist movement and the movement for women's rights, always having to battle with dark forces that would seek to perpetuate slavery, that would seek to perpetuate patriarchy. So the time has come in the United States for a reckoning. And if I am to fall in battle, like so many others will fall in battle, because it is battle that they seek, because they will not go quietly into the night, they will not accept that the United States is striving towards a more perfect union, as Abraham Lincoln liked to say, that we are ever more appealing to the better angels of people's nature. They have sought to now perpetuate themselves in power. So beyond Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is the deeper-seated question of, is the United States becoming a banana republic? Banana republicism was a creature of the United States. Banana republicanism, as practiced in Nicaragua and Haiti and Dominican Republic and in places like Jamaica and others where governments were overthrown. People were slaughtered in the tens of thousands for standing up for freedom and independence. The civil wars of the 1980s in Central America was not some Soviet plot. The latifundist and the oligarchy in those countries had roots way beyond the Soviet Union's founding in 1917. They go all the way back into the Spanish Inquisition, coming in through the conquistadors and the conquering of the Americas by those who wanted power and the riches. So this, my brethren, This, my brethren, is the moment of reckoning for the United States. Shall this be a free republic, evolving step by step towards a more perfect union, where all men and women, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, can freely sit at the table of brotherhood, of equality, and build a better country? Or will it fall back into the clutches of those who hate mankind, hate humanity, and clothe that hatred, that prejudice in the fine garments of religiosity and Christian piety, and talk of democracy and freedom and liberty, when they could not even recognize liberty if it struck them in the face with a mailed fist? That, my brethren, is a question of the hour. Shall we have freedom? Shall this be the last election in the United States? Or shall we fall into a fratricidal civil war, as those who walk into the streets of the United States with machine guns, egged on by Donald Trump and his ilk, seeking to destroy and divide a nation that is trying its best to escape the dark clutches of its past? Let us pray. Let us pray for better. Let us hope for better. Let us work for better. But let us be ready to do battle for freedom if that time comes.